Hey folks, welcome to BDSM Brewing Company. I'm Billy Cannon, your brewmaster. Tonight, we're brewing up our house beer. Mr. Carter, I'm sorry. I'm a better brewer than you were. And frankly, I'm taking it back. We're making the Billy beer tonight.
Alright, so we've just added about 10 gallons of water. Instead of mashing in where I would dump the water first and then put the grain in, we're doughing in, which is basically the opposite of that. Trusty Pat. Ready to get this all stirred up, and then we're going to be able to get the actual temperature and start making notes on this. You know, this is good beer. Welcome to the Bitter Bitch English Special Bitter. And I can't wait for you to try this. Alright, so we've been stirring this on and off for the last 30 minutes or so. We've been heating up our sparge water, our mash edition, and basically we're going to do a batch sparge. We don't have the pumps and all the tubing and everything set up for a on-the-fly sparge. So basically we're going to do this all at once, give it a stir, and then let it continue the mash. I'm going to draw everything out all at once, and so it'll all work out then. So far, gloves. So far the temperature's been maintaining right around 164, which is about where I want it. This should take it up from, this water here is at 174 and should take the mash to a point where it can stay at 164 throughout. All right. So once again, we give it a stir. We're going to let it sit for another 30 minutes. Then we're going to then we're going to test it, see where it is. It may need another 30 minutes if it has enough temperature, and it may not, and if it hasn't steeped well enough. We'll know once we get the refractometer reading. So, we'll see you in about 30 minutes.
What? You can't let the Russians in here. They'll see the big board.
Here we are at the end of the mash. Basically, we're getting ready to do something called a Vorloff, where we set the grain bed and turn it into kind of a sand filter. So we're still at 154 degrees, which is still right where I want it to be. That's actually where I would keep it if I was running a continuous mash. So I'm pretty happy with that result. So what we're getting ready to do right now is basically just run out the wort into a pitcher until we get a nice clear running of the wort. Then we'll fill the boil kettles and we'll start the process of boiling this wort. So my good old trusty pitcher, and here we go. All right, so here we go. The first runnings of the Billy beer. And as you can see, this is absolutely full of grain and sediment and all the stuff that we really don't want in our wort, and that's what setting the grain bed does. By pulling this out of there, we're going to eventually end up with clear wort. Now, when we're adding this back to the mash tun, we don't want to just dump it in, because then we're kind of messing up all the work we just started. So I put my paddle in here, and now we're just going to use the paddle as a sparge head. And we're just going to slowly put that back into the mash tun. And we just keep doing this over and over and over again until we get clear wort. So we're going to continue, and here in about, I don't know, probably 15 minutes or so, we're going to be ready to start pulling this wort and getting ready to fill the kettles for the boil. So we'll check back in then. Alright folks, so now we've done the Vorloff, and as you can see, the wort that we're collecting is much, much clearer now. Much, much clearer. Okay, all of the solid grains are gone from it. All right, so now what we're going to do is test it, make sure that we've got the right gravity that we're looking for. Remember that we're looking for a target gravity of 1.058. I'm not going to have that yet. I still have to add a couple of things to the boil. So anyway, for those who don't know, this is called refractometer. It measures the color, gravity of the beer. And basically what we have is we just get a little, let's go. All right, we're going to get a little pipette sample. We're going to take that and we're going to let that cool for a little second, just so it gets closer to the ambient temperature of the room. Clarity on that is really, really nice. Anyway, so here we go. We're going to just lay that down on the test screen, flip the lid closed, and hold it up to the light. And we have a pre-boil gravity of 1.028. And a wort that is malty, biscuity. It's nice and clean. I think this is going to be really good. Now, as always, sanitization is everything. Sanitize everything. When in doubt, put it in sanitizer. When you're not in doubt, put it in sanitizer. All right. Anyway, moving on. So now we're ready to start collecting the wort. And basically, I've just moved my burner and boil kettle closer to the mash tun, and we're just going to let her rip. I'm going to collect the first 10 gallons of this wort, and then we're going to start the boil. I'll see you then. Okay, so folks, right now what you're looking at is called the heat break. This is when the boil first gets started. All of the sugars and everything in there are starting to rotate. Now it's starting to boil. It's going to cause a big flare up of foam. That's when we're going to turn the heat down and we'll start the boil process. I have the heat set up on both of these so that one goes before the other. Now here, right here is where the boil starts, and as you can see, all of that foam is now starting to build up here. So now I'm going to turn the fire down. I'm going to turn it way down. And I'm going to leave it down until this foam dissipates. But as you can see, it is actually still boiling. The actual amount of flame or fire or heat that you need to keep a liquid boiling is much less than you need to bring it to a boil. We'll turn that up just a touch. And there we have it. We're going to go through the same process on this next kettle. Once that kettle is rolling, then we'll go ahead and make our first hop addition, and we'll start the actual timers on the 1 hour boil that we're going to do on this process. One final note, just for anybody out there who's maybe looking to do what I'm doing, notice that I do have my immersion chiller and my paddle both in my pot. They're being boiled so that they can be sterilized along with the beer. That's going to be very important later, because once your beer is boiled, anything that touches it has to either be boiled or sanitized or sterilized in some way or another. Without that sterilization, you end up getting an infected beer and a whole lot of nasty flavors and oftentimes an undrinkable brew. We don't ever want that. So anyway, we'll see you when we make the first hop additions here in about 15 minutes or so. Okay folks, we got a nice pretty boil going right here, and we're about ready to make our first hop additions. This right here is 1.5 ounces of El Dorado hops. It's going to be a really wonderful bittering agent for this. This is the beginning of the boil, the 60-minute addition. So we're going to put this in, and it's going to cause another break as soon as those hops get good and wet. So we're going to hold it under the water with the paddle, and then we're going to let it go. We're going to make sure that it doesn't foam up. made our first hop addition. Our second hop addition is going to happen according to the great whiteboard. It is going to happen at the 30-minute mark, so we'll see you guys then. Until then, have a beer, maybe a spanky.
Billy's Damn Straight Mash, coming soon to a pub near you.
What? Hey folks, we're now 30 minutes into the boil. We're getting ready to make our second and final hop addition on this beer. This time it is the gargoyle hops. We're putting these in for a tropical citrusy, kind of a fruity finish that's going to be the back end of this beer. It's going to be pretty damn yummy. So anyway, same process as before. You know, we grab the paddle, drop the hop, hold it under until it breaks over, and there we go. Same thing with this one. Drop the hop, hold it under, let it get saturated, and there you have it. The hops for this beer are now finished. We're going to boil for another 30 minutes. And once we've completed that, then we're going to start looking at chilling the beer, which is kind of an interesting looking process. So we'll see you then. Alright folks, I just turned off the fire on the boil. I'm getting ready to run around and turn on the water on the cooler. So what we're going to do next is we're going to use the immersion chiller. We're going to cool this wort off. We're going to get it put into a bucket and start the water process so that we're ready to make the second boil. Anyway, here we go. Beer interlude number 2, folks. Tonight we tapped our Water Sports Pilsner. Now look at that. Let's get a taste. Oh man. This is everything I've ever wanted in a Pilsner right here. It's light, it's refreshing, it's deceptively easy to drink. There it is, Water Sports Pilsner. Can't wait for you to try it. Okay folks, we've got everything pitched, we've got everything ready and in the fermenters. Airlocks are on and it's all good. So here's what we've got going on right now. Right now in our primary fermenters, we've got a 1/4 barrel of the Nutbuster Brown Ale. This is a Honey Nut Brown Ale that is going to, well, I hope be just fucking delicious. Should dry out really well. We'll see how it goes. It's got a really nice light hop profile, and it's got a yeast in it that should dry it out just to almost water and alcohol. We'll see how it goes. Down below here, what we have is the Billy beer. We've got the yeast pitched. We've got it in the buckets, and it's ready to go. The brew day for today is finished. There's a 1/2 barrel of beer, and yeah, now we're going to get drunk. Talk to you soon.